Hi, I'm Kendra Corman. If you're a coach, consultant, or marketer, you know marketing is far from a perfect science. And that's why this show is called Imperfect Marketing. Join me and my guests as we explore how to grow your business with marketing tips and, of course, lessons learned along the way. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Imperfect Marketing. I'm your host, Kendra Corman, and I am super excited to be talking about one of my favorite topics, of course, and that is AI. And my guest today is Nuri. He is the VP of Commercial and AI Marketing at Intel Corp, and recently wrote a book about AI, but we are going to be talking all about AI today. Thank you so much for joining me today. Why don't you tell us a little bit on how you got into AI?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me, Kendra, on the show. So I was working on AI when I was in college, almost 25 years ago. But AI changed a lot, especially in the 2018, 2020 time scale. We have seen a lot of progress on large language models. Many people, I think, will refer to ChatGPT as a movement. I was working at Microsoft for 17 years, and I worked on data and AI marketing. And that was my team working closely with OpenAI team, and really having that moment really inspired me to work around AI and how this is going to change almost everything, but specifically the area of marketing, which I'm working on. So yeah, I'm with Intel for the last 2 years, really infusing AI into every work that we do on the marketing, but also working with our partners and making sure everybody benefits from the AI and really accelerates the business outcomes of innovating faster, saving more dollars, and of course, executing really timely and fast.
Okay, so I love that. And I have to just comment. So you have been working on AI for a long time, because people ask me all the time whenever I'm presenting about AI or talking about it. They're like, well, it's only been around a couple of years. And I was like, no, I've met people who majored in it, back when they were in college, and some of it was college before me. You were in college while I was there. So, but that's so cool that you were working on it for so long. And really, yeah, I mean, people look at the unveiling of ChatGPT as this moment in time where AI happened, and it's no, it didn't, right? It's been around for a really long time.
And actually, many of the use cases we see today, not all of them are generative AI. So again, Gen AI is the term that we get used to, but the basics of AI, which is starting with machine learning, and it's all about the algorithms learning from each other. So, and then many of the techniques that we use today in marketing, they're actually the basics of AI from 2010s, 2012. So again, we will speak a lot about Gen AI and Agentic AI. But again, majority of the things on forecasting, predictive analytics, customizations on campaigns, many of them are just using the basics. The better term is narrow AI. But again, it is still AI.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes people are talking about things and I'm like, I don't even think that's AI. I think that's just programming. AI has become everywhere, right? So
Yeah.
I couldn't believe this the other day because, back, I would say a year or two ago, people were hesitant to learn about AI and use AI because they're like, oh my gosh, it's going to take my job. And I was actually doing a presentation a couple weeks ago, and someone came up to me afterwards and said, thank you for this. I was hesitant to use AI because I was scared it was going to take my job. She's like, but I really believe that people that know how to use AI will take my job before AI takes my job. And I agreed with her. What are you seeing on jobs emerging or changing due to how AI is rolling out? Because it's rolling out at a ridiculous pace.
Exactly. I think your example is a really good one. And especially many of the listeners today will have that question in their mind, am I going to lose my job to AI? I'm an optimist, but again, I want to keep the balance. So AI is going to definitely affect everybody's life in the next 10 years. Period. There's no way that my job is safe, my work is done. That's why everybody should spend some time on upskilling themselves on AI. Because as you said, somebody else who's using AI might take the job. Also, I feel AI is more of a co-creator for marketing teams. So, which means that it will help you to execute some of the tasks way faster, way effective compared to today or maybe like before. So that's why I think it's inevitable for everyone to not to use AI. So, and I will give maybe a couple of examples, but like I have a creative team, right? So like every time we do campaigns, we were like, we have the brand guidelines, we have all this from fonts to colors to everything that like messaging goes through. Now we are using some AI tools which we feed the context on, like, hey, these are all the previous brand campaigns, the visuals we used, the messaging narrative we developed, and it learns from them. And then I say, like, using this as the baseline, can you help me to generate the next one? So again, maybe just unpacking that for the listeners, AI has like two specific use cases. One is the training, the other one is inferencing. There's a stage in between which is called the fine tuning. Just in a simple terms, when you train AI, it's a like it learns from the experiences, and especially with the latest tools we have from like ChatGPT, from OpenAI, Anthropic has this Claude, Google has Gemini, you name it. Like every company has now leading frontier models. You can use them with their knowledge and you can train them on your own data, which gives you the ability to fine tune it, which means like, hey, Intel's, let's say, color is this blue and we have the shades of blue, which are brand appropriate. And everything that you generate, it should be within those guidelines, period. And I tell it via text. So I think that's the beauty of like, you're almost talking to a agency, but it's technically AI at the back end. And one of the key things when I call inferencing, really pulling out the data is not just text anymore. So you can speak to AI models. It's called the multimodality. You can give a voice prompt. You can give like input as a video, and also you can get the output as text, images, but also audio files and video files. And again, like recently this summer, I think people will experience a lot of AI generated videos. You cannot differentiate the quality of the video from a real one versus an AI generated one. So again, there are a lot of debates going on, like, is this the end of the creative rights? Like, who owns the created video? Is it the AI model or is it the company who generated the content? But I'm just looking at from like, it is accelerating our journey on marketing way better. Like just today, for example, if I go with a traditional method, I brief an agency, I will wait for them to respond to me 2 weeks. And then like there's a creative person that needs to be like getting the messaging and everything right. It takes like 6 to 8 weeks from an ideation to production. With AI, it can be in minutes. So that's the speed, agility that we are talking about. And then like I'm really excited about like you can try different things. Like if I do a campaign today, maybe I will have like 2 visuals, that's it. If I know my audience, let's say I have 500 different personalities from like technical decision makers to developers, I can generate 500 different campaign visuals targeting those 500 different personas. This wasn't possible before. So, back to your question, is AI gonna take over the jobs? I don't think so. If you are using AI properly, you will like increase your value in the market and you will respond to the things way faster than anybody else.
I think that that is so important. It's not taking your job, but the people that know how to use it and use it the right way are, because they can do so much more and be so much more effective and efficient. One person had told me that they had heard I think it was the CEO or president of Google say that this will be more impactful to the world and to people and to humanity than fire was, just simply because of how powerful it is. And I think that that's just mind-boggling. But when I see it in action and I start to see what's possible, I start to see what I can create as a non-techie person, right? And how much time it saves me. I mean, it saves me 30 to 40 hours a week. That's insane. right? I mean, I doubled myself, right? I don't work any less. People ask me that all the time. I still work the same amount. I just get more done, which is fantastic. And no jobs were lost, things like that. So
This is across the industries, by the way. I want to underline that one because it is not just marketing that is like very visual, like you can generate things, but like I see a lot of usage in like healthcare, education, and those are the main disruptions because I believe the key thing that I'm looking at it is intelligence is becoming more accessible to everyone. So rather than being afraid of AI, like taking over the world, like now we are making AI really helping everyone on the planet. So I will give maybe like some basic examples, but like now Google has and Microsoft has this medical grade AI agents. And for the listeners, just unpacking that AI agents are the agency part of AI where they can work on an agent, like they you can outsource things and they work in parallel. They find some results and come back to you when they found something, or they can work autonomously. So as a result of this, like if you're living anywhere on the planet, you have access to all medical results that happened before. And if you have an X-ray, for example, hey, whatever GPT you are using, can you give me the analysis as a medical professional? And it will give you a detailed analysis where all the world's medical doctors combined can give you the same answer. So again, that's pretty like democratizing the intelligence across the globe, and this is fascinating. So you don't have to go to the best hospital, you don't have to go to the best university. Like technically, all this information is accessible to everyone through this AI tools. Again, the question is, you have to know how to use them. So and it's not just like basics of prompt, but like you have to really master it about like what are the areas that I can get the benefit of AI in my daily job. And of course, for marketers, going back to the marketing conversation, you have to document like what are you really doing today and like make that assessment. And after that, how can you automate majority of the things by using the right AI tools?
you have to understand what's capable. You don't necessarily have to be able to do it all, right? I mean, you can bring in other people, but you have to be able to see those opportunities in your daily life. And I liked how you brought in some other things because some companies are a little scared of AI, right? And so they've shut it down and you can't use it and all these other fun things. But they're starting to open that up a little bit more and more. They're building their own instance of ChatGPT, right? With just their data, so it's all private. Yeah, use it in your personal life. I mean, my sister had a medical scare last summer, and I mean, ChatGPT was my friend. I'd take a picture of her results, I'd upload it in, and I'd say, explain this for an 8-year-old because I couldn't read the radiologist's report, right? So, what does this mean? And it would tell me exactly what that meant. And I'm like, okay, yeah, there's just so much power in it. And so, if you're not able to use it in work, use it in your day to day life because there's just, again, so much power.
That's a really good point, especially for the enterprises. I'm seeing this more and more, especially with our customers. That's why there are different ways to use AI in a like confidential and secure way. So we had it before on the cloud computing as well. It's called the hybrid AI. So like going back time, like again 2010, this was the year where there were a lot of with iPads, tablets were coming into the workplace, and they were trying to connect to the work devices on like netbooks, laptops with the touch screen, and IT blocked them. And then like we call this the bringing your own device moment. The same happened with the iPhones and Android devices around 2015. People love the apps and they bring it, and then you have to control it. So same thing is happening with AI today. People are using ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, and they want to use the same benefits at work. So there are ways to make it like really secure and compliant. The first thing for the listeners I recommend is setting up the generative AI guidelines for the company. So this is a job a little bit on the, I hope there will be jobs called the AI security officers. Like, so this chief AI security like officers will define some of those like implementation phases. And some of the models, like January 2025 was a big moment for our industry, because from China, a model called DeepSeek dropped into the like the news, and they made it open source. And I think that's the future of AI for many companies. Like, openness is so critical, like to deploy some of those solutions. And when something is open source, you don't need dependency on cloud solutions that much. So you can build these solutions in-house, especially for marketing. I mean, all the IP that you build over years are within your like company firewall, and you need those models not to train the rest of the world, but your next marketing project. So that's why I think deploying those solutions locally is as important as like using some of the solutions. My recommendation will be like, just look out for implementation options after the assessment stage on like, do you want to keep it completely offline for your use? Do you want to use a hybrid model where models can get the latest updates from the cloud, but still keep your data, especially for training? Or you are just an like open person and open company, just use everything which is viable on the internet. So again, like for some small companies, that's a viable solution. They don't have like a huge IP that they need to secure behind the firewall. So again, those are, I think, implementation stages that everybody will go through. And that's an important stage of implementing AI. Like, I mean, you want to make it secure and confidential.
I love that. So when we're talking about this, one of the things that you're talking about is people using it. So I always talk to everybody about the fact that, at least at this stage, there needs to be human review in almost every process, at least in all the ways that I'm using AI, because it can make mistakes sometimes, right? I mean, it gets me to a better place. It gets me there faster. It gets me more versions and all that stuff, but I still have to look it all over. I think it was the NVIDIA CEO that said that AI is like an intern with unlimited hours. So I've heard that several different times. I've co-opted it myself and use it all the time. But you wouldn't turn in to the board of directors presentation that an intern built without looking it over. And that's a little bit with AI. So how is AI enhancing human productivity in the world of business, right? Without taking these jobs?
Absolutely. And I think you nailed it, because what the AI models today does is like they predict the next token, which is like, I mean, you give all the words and images and everything. So it knows if you say like, this is a tree, like this is a common term, and then it really like hallucinates after that and generates the other things. It's getting better and better, but AI needs context. And you said like a human should be in the loop. And we call it, by the way, the reinforcement learning. So for example, when you ask like a GPT an answer, it technically gives you a random data points, like, and then you need this reinforcement learning outcomes. Like, hey, give me like a Wikipedia article, like address me the subject, give me like 5 bullet or 10 bullet points, and then put a summary at the end and ask for questions. So all the outputs that you get from those engines are technically curated by people. And you have to do the same for your projects. So you don't really use exactly what has been generated. I believe in the debates. Like, I mean, you have to go deeper and deeper. Like, hey, you gave me this, but I actually like longer the prompt, the quality of the outcome. So that's why I think you have to be really giving and like spending some time on the co-creation, because the outcome will be again trash, like just as you use it. So like you have to make sure it's tailored to your needs, it's getting the right message. And there were cases like, I mean, a couple of lawyers just like asked GPT write an answer, and then it hallucinates. It made up a case which didn't go further. So I mean, you don't do your tax returns just from the AI tools. Like, I mean, because like then you have to be liability of those things. There will be better and better. I'm not saying like AI is not going to solve it. AI is going to get better and better. And especially today, we have this method called mixture of experts. So where you have an expert on math, expert on linguistic, expert on medical. So all these experts are like playing a role. And then when you ask a question, it translates it into the right language model. But again, we are in this making of this journey. For the next stage, by the way, it's called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, which we expect in like literally 18 months to 24 months. So it's coming pretty fast because we know how to achieve to AGI. So, but like people shouldn't expect that when AGI happens, like it's a Terminator movie, like like the AI will like conquer the world and then get rid of humans. That's not the vision. So we will have literally the mixture of experts, like the experts will be like most knowledgeable people with the intelligence on the system by each vertical. And imagine having this all up together in one system. So that's why there's a race between OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, Meta, like whoever gets to the AGI first, it's a big strategic advantage because you have the world's most intelligent being. Again, like I'm not saying it's a machine or it's a human, but in between. And again, like the next stage, by the way, again, like I don't want to be a like science fiction author, but like ASI, artificial super intelligence, is the next step. I don't think it will come like 10 to 15 years is the earliest time. And that's where AI says, oh, I'm an AI. I'm conscious of being an AI. And like that's a moment. So like we will not achieve that moment with AGI, but AGI will be definitely a defining moment for the economies across the globe, because some nations, some industries, and some people who are listening to this podcast will take the advantage, prepare themselves, and they will lead the wave. It's really the catching the wave. I mean, if you're on the wave, you go way fast, you reach the shore. And if you are behind the wave, I mean, you have to wait for the next wave. It might come, but if you are a little bit ahead and if you don't follow through, you just like crashed by the wave. So it's really critical to continue to your upskilling journey and riding the wave. I think that's the right preparedness for AGI.
I love that. And you know what? I'm okay that it's a little science, feels a little science fiction-y, because I feel like our world is a bit science fiction-y, you know? I mean, if you think back in time, it's like we're only missing like time travelers and like flying cars, because it does feel like so much can be done. It's just amazing. One of my neighbors the other day, or it might have been my parents' neighbors, we were driving through their neighborhood and they had a lawnmower that was like self-mowing their lawn, you know, like one of those iRobots that do the vacuuming or whatever. And it was just, it's amazing how much machines and what they know and what they can do for us has just changed our lives.
Even in 2025, I mean, if you look at how we quickly adapt, like the Waymos are like a part of our life, at least in the United States. So, I mean, when you see a Waymo, like the first time I see it in 2024, I was recording a video like, this is a driverless car, like there's nobody on the steering wheel. And it became normal. I mean, I call an Uber, I just jump right on it. I don't care there's a driver or not. Sometimes I feel more safe that there's no driver. I'm driven to the point A to B by an AI. And in my daily life, again, like, I mean, I have a full self-driving car. I really don't drive that much anymore. I go out from the garage. I say like, take kids to the swimming. Initially, I was just using myself. I said like, yeah, it's safe for me, save my kids. I just press a button. I have the Ray-Ban Meta glasses on, and I listen to podcasts, and then car drives itself. So I'm still like looking at the road. I'm still, if emergency, I will interrupt. But for the last 3 months, I don't think I interrupted once. So I live in Seattle. So again, like, I mean, we have some congested areas, like some rush hour traffic. It handles it perfectly. So again, like going back to our conversation, so like, because the traffic is so well defined, AI is able to get the jobs of like non-value adding roles. Like if you go from point A to point B with a given parameters, then it's done. Like, I mean, you don't need to spend that time. So like we have, and the second one will be, I think, the aerial space. Like it's well defined for drones. We will see more. I recently got my Amazon shipment via drone. Like that's pretty cool. I mean, you spot the front yard and like you can land it here. A drone comes, like drops a package and goes. Like this is 2025. It's not, as you said, like we are living in this like science fiction movie almost, and like it's just accelerating more and more. I believe like end of 2025, we will start to see physical AI, and this is going to be a big industry where all this robots, like again, like I mean, think of it, it's not just the humanoid robots, but like really helping with the household chores, like doing some of the steps on, let's say, learning material. So like a cleaning company comes to your house. It's happening in California today. They just drop a bunch of robots and then they figure out your layout and then they start cleaning up. So that's pretty a repetitive task which needs to be done over and over again. And there will be companies taking really as a business opportunity and moving forward. But yeah, like, I mean, it feels like when you add this all together, like from delivery drones to full self-driving cars, it feels like we are living in the future.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, it's just, yeah, it blows my mind. And it blows my mind how quickly it's advancing. So let me ask you just one more question. So, and that's related to the ethics of this. So I teach part-time adjunct faculty at a local university here in Michigan. So I'm working with my students, I'm working with the instructors. I actually just participated in a survey where they hired somebody else because they're working on some AI policies for the university and how to integrate it better into teaching. And there's professors, they think it's cheating. Right. I've had students that thought it was cheating. I've had professors that are not embracing it because they feel like, people can't do things right if they don't learn how to outline a paper. You don't need to outline a paper anymore because AI is going to help you do it. Right. So with all of this stuff going on and a lot of concern about it, a lot of concern about the people not being compensated for their work, for the learning of the large language models and the inability to copyright what you're creating, things like that. What are the top 3 ethical issues that you're seeing or that people should be aware of and maybe institute as guardrails for themselves or their companies?
Before maybe I give those like maybe top 3, I had also like a parents teacher conference last week in my kids' middle school. Because a couple of students used ChatGPT and then the school was freaking out. They gathered all the parents and they said like, and again, I was open in the conversation. I said like, you cannot restrict AI. I mean, like that's what I'm dealing with every day in my work. I'm trying to increase the adoption of these tools, but you should have the ethical concerns on like, what are you really outsourcing it to? Especially if this is a learning process. The learning doesn't mean that like you just copy the content from platform X to platform Y. Then like in my childhood, we had this encyclopedias in the house or in the library. If a teacher asks a question, you go search for it. You just copy exactly the text and then good job, you did the research. It wasn't the research. So again, like, I mean, the same question arises. So like, how do we have the powerful conversations in education in the classroom? So how the teacher uses AI in an effective way that really helps them to better train and educate the students. And after school, you have to think that all students have access to the best intelligence ever with any GPT tools or AI tools there. So, and if you think that that's the baseline, you don't ask questions on like, what's the history of blah. I mean, it's a very easy question for anyone to write it up, or you just don't ask, just write me an essay, because writing essay doesn't show the humanities like best power. So like, it's really challenging. What are we education? What should education teach to the kids? So that's a really good area we are living right now. So because AI is challenging the whole education system. So
I think it's going to challenge these younger generations to hopefully be better critical thinkers, because we've sort of outsourced a lot of our critical thinking to TV and stuff like that. So I'm very excited to see what happens when we actually start thinking more, right? And not just taking what we're given.
Exactly. Like the school's job will be more about, rather than like teaching how to use an AI tool, it's more about like, how do you think critically? How do you challenge the answers that you get from AI? How do you use multiple AIs to reach your destination? How do you like, imagine you have the power of experts as an intelligence. Like again, like you have to use it and really challenge like what can be the next big thing. So this is really not preparing the people for industry revolution jobs, because that was the main purpose of the education historically. Now we have to create those like strategic thinkers, out of the box thinkers with the help of AI. So, but again, going back to your question on the ethics, first is again, like, I mean, plagiarism is a big issue across data. So like, and there were specific cases like all these training models, they use an underlying data. So either to generate a text or create an image or generate a video. And you can just say, like, generate me an image in this style. So moving forward, we will see more and more intellectual property on the AI domain. And this is an area that, like, imagine I'm speaking to Kendra, but there might be an AI Kendra as well. So, like, and the AI Kendra can do 10 podcasts per day with like 20 different other AIs. So, like, how do you maybe guardrail this for you that, like, okay, this is me getting the training data. So people will start to own their AI digital presences. And again, all this trademarking and everything needs to go through all the legal process, which is really important, because then, when you use, like, today a music for your YouTube video, you have to pay the loyalty owner. Same thing applies here. You cannot just, I have a PhD on business management, so, like, my thesis was like just maybe 1% of 99% of my thesis just said, like, hey, these are the things that has been said by Peter Drucker, Philip Kotler, and, like, I'm adding this last brick on the wall. So the same applies to AI. I mean, you're just adding one new information. So that's number one. Number two, again, there's a big job for the governments and, like, to regulate some of the usage in a way that, like, decisions will be made by AI. I will give an example. Like, a city, for example, will decide on, like, with the expanding population, do we grow to the north or the south? Again, like, there will be some land to be acquired. And AI models can be, again, really tricky to understand why. Like, AI might say north is the answer. Okay, all the city council goes and buys the land on north. And then they figure out, like, this land was owned by somebody else who really find a way to educate the training data in early stages that gave that result. So, like, you have to trace back. So again, and this will happen again. Land is a good example, but, like, you diagnose a patient with cancer 5 years in advance. Like, what happens to the insurance? Like, and the insurance will say, like, nope, I'm not gonna insure you because you will have a cancer. Like, how do you prevent the ethical consequences of, like, predicting some of the data? Maybe it's a wrong data set. There's a huge, maybe, regulation needs to be happening there. And on I think the technological side, we have something called blockchain. Everybody, I think, knows the Bitcoin and all the crypto world, but it's actually an immutable ledger as a technology. So, and you can really store some decisions by AI, because guess what? In 2 years, nobody as a human will be able to understand the AI decision except AI itself. So we can ask AI, hey, this AI gave me this answer, but, like, can you go and trace if this is the right training data set that lead to this result? So we can audit trail. So, and I give an example, like, the blockchain looks like a ledger. I mean, for the companies, you never delete the data. I mean, you have this money, you send the money to your employees, you pay invoices, you get payment from your customers, but those are all new ledger entries. You never go and delete your main balance. So the balance adds it up. Same with the AI decisions. So if an AI is making a decision, we should be able to trace it back. Today it's not possible, and, like, there's a huge ethical concern on my end on, like, making this happen. And maybe the third one, there's a big job for this model providers like Microsoft in this case, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, you name it, Mistral. They have to not cut the corners. So, and this is a big risk. Whoever goes first, they know that they will get a lion share on this, like, market opportunity. I'm a big fan of Dario Amodei, who is the CEO of Anthropic. He intentionally goes a little bit late to the market, but they put the guardrails for the AI models to go on a
Why, I
secure
love
way.
Claude.
Yeah,
I'm a
like,
huge
we all
Claude
love
fan.
Claude.
Don't get me wrong. I use my ChatGPT, but I love, love, love Claude.
And then the recent survey, that, again, like, maybe we will put it on the show notes. But there was a white paper published by the Anthropic team. They use this, like, AGI test sandboxes technically the AI is isolated from the world, but it doesn't know that. And then the AI, they said like, we are shutting you down. And AI found emails of the engineer who developed it. And he said like, I know you are cheating on your wife. So if you shut me down, I will expose you to the world. And this is an AI in the sandbox. So, and they shut it down. They said like, okay, like this AI is really going off the rails, threatening the engineers to be alive. Imagine you put out that model in the wild, it will do whatever it takes. And like, it's really hard for humans to understand what the AI is capable of. I mean, we are living in a world where everything is cloud computing. The best engineers even doesn't know what's inside the data centers, like compute clusters. So it's really hard to know what's the real usage scenario, and then the AI can expand globally to virtually anywhere. So again, the last thing on my end will be like, definitely frontier model builders shouldn't cut the corners. They have to spend deliberate time on and effort on securing and providing that clearance for AIs before it becomes AGI.
So I love this conversation. I love everything that we're talking about. We could go on for hours because I've got so many more questions to ask you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your book, and then I will ask you my infamous question that I ask all my guests.
So again, like we discussed a lot, and then like I was getting a lot of questions. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm sharing daily almost. It feels a lot, but again, like AI is booming, so do my posts. So like I want to share more. And as a result of that, I have authored this AI in marketing book. We almost covered all the topics. Like, I mean, I call it the AIM framework. It is assessment, implementation, and measurement. So everything starts with assessing yourself, like what's an organization do, what are the repetitive tasks, where you can get the power of AI. And in the book, I giving like concrete examples about that. On the implement stage, it's all about like which tools, what are the really like scenarios, how you build, and the measure. Again, we didn't touch on it, but there are 7 metrics. Again, I put it on the book on like you should be thinking about the outcomes that your AI project is bringing to the table, which means like, are you increasing sales? Like, is there a campaign achievement on the business outcomes? Like, do you specifically target some acquisition costs to go down or number of nurture accounts to go up? Again, like I explain this in depth in the book, but it's a really tactical book. Like when you go through it, it has this checklists and everything. And I believe we will put it on the show notes section.
Yeah, we'll have a place in the show notes in the video YouTube description to buy the book if you're interested, because I think that there's just so much more that you have to share with us. And it just, yeah, it's just amazing how much is out there. And I love that you have that. And I'm so appreciative that you came on the show today to share so much of your knowledge, because AI is changing at a ridiculous pace. And it really does help to think about it and where it's going, and that you need to start embracing it now if you're not.
I mean, 2025 is the year of Agentic AI, but like the future is more about AGI. And in the book, I have a detailed parts on Agentic AI, and I have a section on AGI and marketing. And in 2-3 years, we will know exactly I was right or wrong, because the future will show itself. But yeah, like
it's not going to take long.
It's not going to take long.
Everything's
exactly.
going. So before I let you go, I have to ask you the question that I ask all of my guests, and that is, this show is called Imperfect Marketing because marketing is anything but a perfect science. What has been your biggest marketing lesson learned?
When I was at Microsoft, we had built something called AI, Azure AI. And initially, like it was a big aha moment for me because we had this azure.com website, so where people go and check out. Vast majority of the trials was on AI. Initially, we said, yeah, like, I mean, AI is a nice topic. And then like this followed like multiple months. And then finally, like we build an AI acquisition strategy for like the developers. And then we realized, oh my God, like the core audience we were trying to sell until that moment was like this IT decision makers. But it was the developers who were in charge of the buying cycle. And the data was in front of us for a couple of quarters. we saw it, but we didn't read it. So again, like, I mean, my maybe takeaway from this is like, data is everything. Like, look at your data. I mean, with AI or without AI. So data will tell you a lot if you go deeper and deeper in analyzing, like, how did this happen? Like, out of your all pages, why one single page gets more views? Like, who is the audience that is interacting with it? And most importantly, every customer is looking for an outcome, and they're not here to like, I want to learn about your product. Nobody wants to learn your product. They want to solve a problem. And if you are helping them with that solution, then your revenue will increase. So I think that was personally a big aha moment for me, to shift the audience. And then, like, I'm also like trying to push at Intel, like, developers. Like, developers are core audience for us. I want to win the hearts and minds of developers, because we want to show that everything that is done today is really helping them to solve a problem for their company, which will solve a bigger problem for the world. But understand your audience, understand your data, and just double click more on the really understanding the underlying behavior, and really show the business outcomes. Don't sell a product, sell an outcome. So that's my key takeaway.
I love that. It's because I'm definitely a big fan of knowing and understanding your audience. And if you don't have big data behind you, then you can always just call your audience, right? Find out more, find out who's making those decisions. Ask those questions to get that data, because who you're talking to is so important, because it changes how you position your solution. And again, it's not a product or a service, it's a solution, because nobody just wants to buy things, right? There's a reason behind it, and solving a problem is so important. Thank you so much for being on this episode with me. I do appreciate it. I loved our conversation. I loved all the information that you shared. Definitely check out his book, AI in Marketing, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes. Thank you all so much for tuning in wherever you're listening or watching. If you learned something today, which I hope you did, because I know I did, I would really appreciate it if you would rate and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Until next time, have a great rest of your day.